Okay. It says we are live. Hello, hello. Is anybody out there? It's actually not quite 12 o'clock. We are a little bit eager beaver today. Um, just trying to, we're ahead by a minute. So now, according to my computer, we've just gone 12 o'clock.
Mine too.
12 o'clock Good Friday, which was, we didn't know whether to do this or not, but then we thought, you know what? If people want to reflect on the religious nature of Easter, hello to people who are watching, who are you? That's absolutely fine. That's great. Hey, Karen, nice to see you. Then that's great. But in many ways, every day rolls into the next at the moment. So we thought, maybe it's not going to feel like a real Easter in some ways, where we completely have a total recharge. So anyway, we're here. We're glad you are too. Lovely to see you. I'm Anita McLaughlin. I'm the founder of Sequins and Sand and have put together this amazing group of women to bring you some really interesting topics to talk about, stuff that matters for you to learn from during this lockdown and beyond. Today, we are talking movement with the lovely Erica Webb. Hi, Erica. Erica is the third in our 35-part series, which will carry us through till the end of June, the 26th of June. So it sounds a lot, but when you break it down, it's very manageable, just the way we like it, every Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday at 12 o'clock, right here on the Sequins and Sand Facebook page. So we are so thrilled to have you here. Kick back, relax, and you're going to love this session. I was over the moon when Erica said yes, because she is not only a gorgeous person, she has this philosophy that I know many of you will resonate with. So without any further ado, and a big hello, Liz Coobs, here is the gorgeous Erica to tell you about what she does.
Hello. Thank you so much, Anita. It's lovely to be here with you. I am Erica, and I am a mindful movement coach. And the reason I call myself a mindful movement coach rather than just saying I'm a yoga teacher is because I've got a few modalities in my toolkit. And for me, my philosophy around movement, it goes beyond a particular modality. So for me, it's not about yoga or about Pilates or somatic exercise, which are the three modalities that I teach, but it kind of boils down more to the way that we approach movement. And so that's what I do. So I haven't always been a movement teacher. I actually started off as a professional student, if I'm honest. I spent a lot of time at university. It's like, what will I do? Yes, I was finding my way. And when I got into the corporate world, I really realized that was not going to work for me as a person. And so after a few years working in statistics, actually, I was a social research analyst analyzing research data. I realized that wasn't the life for me, and I decided to jump, all into the yoga world, the movement world, and it's really been a constant in my life for probably about 15 years, I suppose. And while I've never been the kind of person who gets up at 5 a.m. and does an hour practice and, meditates for 3 hours and does all that, it's become such an ingrained part of who I am to use movement as a way to understand myself and to use movement as a way to kind of navigate life, because I'm kind of I was, and I don't think I am anymore, but the kind of person who's very easily overwhelmed and very easily falls into anxiety. And for me, movement became like a refuge, almost a place where it felt okay to sort of sit and process stuff. And for me, the journey got particularly interesting when I used it as a way to like myself more. As a mum, I fell into a very deep hole of self-hatred. Really, it was a lot of shame and a lot of guilt and a lot of just like, what is going on? And my movement practice was the thing that really allowed me to learn to love myself again, or maybe even for the first time, I don't know. And so the philosophy that I bring to movement kind of stems from all of that experience and is less about, making specific shapes and more about how do we learn to listen to ourselves and how do we learn to respond in a way that is kind, so that instead of working to some external ideal, we're actually feeding ourselves with what we need and what will lead us towards being who we want to be and feeling the way that we want to feel. So for me, it's like taking a whole other level of awareness and curiosity into our movement, so that it's not just this rote kind of practice. It's not just movement for the sake of movement, but really a way for us to like dip into understanding ourselves better and moving through and past and beyond all the habits that we have, both the physical habits and the psychological ones, and finding joy in movement, finding joy in our body, and really recognizing ourselves for the magnificent creatures that we are, having that awe, having that gratitude for, this flesh. So that's sort of where I come at.
That is beautiful. And I think now more than ever, when we've got this corona chaos going on, we started this series because we wanted to reach out and then ground people to give them that stability and all of that swirling around. But what you're talking about is that deeper connection with ourselves. And I think now we have permission more than ever to do this. We've been forced to slow down. We've been forced to look within more and search for meaning, I think, in ways that we've not done that before. So I think that through doing this movement and having that deeper connection with ourselves, I think that will be a wonderful gift that we can give ourselves through this uncertainty. So I've got tingles all over. I'm just so excited about what you do and what we can learn from you. So what did you have in mind for today? Are you going to show us some moves, or you've got some snacks? Do you want to tell us
I've
about
got some snacks. I brought snacks.
And it's not Mars bars, girls. So sorry, I'm not going to give those to you in the mail. Yeah. Anyway. Hey, Linda.
Although maybe some Easter eggs. So one of the things that I deeply believe is that we have to get out of our own way sometimes when it comes to movement. And so many times we have this picture in our mind of what an ideal practice or an ideal setup or an ideal thing would look like. And usually it involves the right pants, the right yoga space, like your Lululemon or whatever you want to wear. And it requires like silence and no kids to interrupt you and no phones to ring and all this stuff. And when we wait for the perfect situation and the perfect setup and the perfect, inspiration even, we never get there because it doesn't happen, right? So I'm a big believer in using whatever we have. And like I say, you can be wearing, if you've come in from work, I mean, I know that doesn't really apply to most of us at the moment, but if you've come in from work and you're wearing dress clothes, you can still do stuff to help yourself feel well. Absolutely. We do not have to get changed. As soon as we put those barriers in place to say, but I can't really be bothered going and getting my tracksuit pants on. Although I'm living in my daggy tracksuit pants at the moment. When we kind of say, well, I can't, no, it's an extra little moment where you get to, your choice becomes harder to make in the right direction.
Excuse. Let's call it, it's a hurdle, but it's an excuse not to. Rather than,
but I think, and it is an excuse, absolutely. But I think that there is a level of belief that we have that it's also necessary. It's an excuse, but it's an excuse grounded in what we believe to be true. And so I very much encourage all of my clients to be like, you know what? If you've got sore shoulders and you're wearing a ball gown, still do something for yourself, because you don't have to wait until later when you can take that ball gown off or whatever to address that. So this is where I love the idea of movement snacks. And movement snacks are exactly what they sound like, little bite-sized movement pieces that we can put into our day whenever we need them. And the reason that I like movement snacks is partly because, you know, I think snacks are great. They're palatable. It's achievable. It means that you don't have to say, oh, well, I don't have an hour, so I'm not going to do anything. You can say, I have literally got 5 minutes between this meeting and the next. I need to go to the bathroom and make a cup of tea, but also my shoulders hurt. And so I know that in that space of time, I can have this little movement snack that might literally take me 30 seconds, and it will make a difference to the way that I feel. And we often dismiss things if they feel too simple or, 30 seconds. Like, what are you going to do in 30 seconds?
Yeah.
What are you going to do in 30 seconds? But when we dismiss the simple and we dismiss those little bite-sized pieces of time, we miss all these opportunities to actually respond to the way that we're feeling. And for me, that's what it's all about. If we notice that we're walking around with our shoulders up by our ears and we're feeling really tense, and we just look at that and we go, oh, well, there's nothing I can do until I can get in to see my massage therapist, then we're missing out on this opportunity to respond to what we feel and to start to learn how we can help ourselves, which I think is extra important right now when we don't have access to perhaps those treatments in the same way that we're used to.
Yes,
this situation's calling us to be more responsible for the way that we're feeling and to do what we can to help ourselves. And the reality is there's actually a lot we can do, and it's simple. And that's the really cool thing, is that these things don't have to be complicated. So what I thought I would do is show you a little sequence, and you can do it along with me. Get ready. You don't even have to stand up. I don't intend to stand up, although I might have to move a little bit just so you can see my arms. But I showed Anita my outfit before. I'm really
don't see the socks. Show them the socks.
Well, I took my socks off. I rocked up. I've been doing live stream yoga classes, and I rocked up to my studio, which is in my house, wearing my leopard print leggings and like the fluffiest socks you've ever seen. And it was really quite a good 80s vibe. I was loving it. It was very flash dance. And I didn't quite realize it until we were halfway through. The idea behind all of these things is to, can you still hear me okay now that I've moved away from the mic a little bit? Yeah. One of the things that is important with this sort of stuff is to take a second to notice how you feel before, because one thing that can happen is that we get very used to noticing ourselves through the lens that we're familiar with. So if you think that you always feel a certain way and you don't check in to see if that's sort of true in the moment, then we sometimes can lose that capacity to pick up on subtleties. And that's where it's just so interesting, because we can start to go, oh, that thing that I thought was true isn't true in this very moment. I'm not actually as sore in this moment as I thought I was, or actually I'm way more exhausted than I even realized. And so taking these little moments to check in and go, well, what is true for me right now? And then when we do the thing that we are hoping will help, then we can take a second at the end to check in and see if it's changed. So if you're going to follow along with me at home, which I encourage you to do, you do not have to stand up, don't have to change. We're going to just do it sitting exactly where we are. Take a second first just to notice how your shoulders feel. So you might close your eyes, you might just gaze towards something, but just, notice without needing to make what you notice a problem. So we're not noticing and going, oh my God, this is because you're terrible and you've done all these things. It's just an opportunity to get curious. And then all we're going to do is shrug our shoulders right up towards our ears. So you can open your eyes and watch if that's helpful, but we're going to shrug the shoulders right up towards the ears. We're going to get really curious about what it feels to create that movement. And then we're going to imagine that our shoulders are just melting away back to where they started. So we're not pulling them down, we're just allowing them to melt. And you might notice that as you do that, there's like a sort of staccato release. And resist that urge to pull out of it, okay? So we're going to shrug our shoulders up towards our ears again and then allow them to melt. And that melt, you're really just focusing on, can you allow a sense of melt, which is hard. We want to pull out of it, right? So see if you can just melt. We're going to do it one more time. And this is what I'm talking about, simple. This is not a complicated movement. We all know how to do this. It's really accessible, and we're going to allow our shoulders again to melt. Good. And all those little hesitations that you feel, they're really important to kind of just notice and see if you can start to smooth them out. So now what we're going to do is we're going to think about squeezing our shoulders towards the front. So if you think about rounding your shoulders towards your chest, and same thing, we're going to you just notice what it feels like and then allow them to melt back to where they started. So it's just a tiny movement. There's not much in it. Squeezing the shoulders towards the chest and then releasing. And one more time. And we often dismiss this stuff because it's like, what's that going to do? It's so simple, but just go with it and notice what it feels like at the end. All right. So now we're going to go the opposite way. Now you're going to be squeezing your shoulders back. As you do that though, this is not about your spine. So what can happen is we go squeeze and we sort of do this big chest thrust.
Ouch.
So yeah, which is habit for most of us. So think about keeping your spine nice and stacked as it is, and you're just going to squeeze your shoulder blades towards one another and then release. So it's, again, maybe not a very big movement, and you're going to notice maybe that one shoulder blade moves more clearly than the other. Yeah, you might have a lot more sensation on one side. Yeah. And we really want, the reason we're doing this is because we want our shoulder blades to have the ability to slide and glide. They're meant to move around. All right, and then we're going to release. So now we're going to turn this into a circle. The one thing we haven't done is pulled our shoulders down towards our hip, but we're going to include that in this movement. So we're going to come up towards our ears. We're going to squeeze the shoulders back towards each other. Then we're going to imagine them coming down towards our hips. So you'll feel that underneath your armpit, and then forward towards each other and up. So we're just going to do one more circle in that direction, then we're going to reverse it. But it's big, right? So this is a big, juicy movement. Yeah, takes a bit out of you. And then when you're up, let's reverse it. So we're going to come forward, down, and back. And just notice how different that is to just those little itty-bitty circles we sometimes do. We're really asking our shoulder blades to find the fullest sort of range of motion they can at the moment. And then we're going to let it go. All right, we're going to add one more little piece to this. So you could do that all on its own, right? And you could do it without very many repetitions, and it will make a difference to the way that you feel. This one can be done on its own as well. Now I'm reaching my arms out, which I realize I end up off screen, but I don't want to move too far back. So you can imagine what my hands are doing. I've got really long arms, so makes it hard. I'm going to just do it like this, actually, so you can see one hand at least. So what we're going to do is we're going to rotate the arm. So as you rotate the arm, you're thinking about doing it from up here at the very top of your arm so that your palm now faces back behind you. And then we're going to rotate it up again. Okay, so the movement is coming from up here, not your wrist and not your elbow. They might move a bit as well, but we're initiating it from the top. And you're just doing both arms at the same time. So you're reaching out through your fingertips and you're rotating. Good. All right, next time the palm is facing up, we're going to bring the fingertips behind the head. Good. We're going to keep our fingertips behind our head and bring our elbows towards each other and then reach them away. Good. And then we're going to reach our arms wide again. Rotate the arms now so the palms face back, and then bend your elbows, and you're just going to scrape your fingertips to your low back. Yeah, good. And then bring them out again. So these are all just movements that are within our capacity. Slow and simple. We're rotating up again. We're just going to do that one more time. So fingertips to the back of the head, elbows towards each other, elbows away, reach the arms open. We're internally rotating, so palms face behind you, and then fingertips tap behind the back.
Crunches.
Are you? Yeah. And then let it go.
Seriously. Crunching.
So let it go. Check in, notice. Whew, give everything a little shake, but just notice now, how do your shoulders feel? Is there a difference?
There is a difference. It's looser, definitely looser. But you're right. When you stop to think and really connect, it's like, oh my goodness, my right side is this is me, so much more tense than my left. And, you know, the simple act of doing that and coming down, well, you know, then I start to feel the crunch, crunch, crunch. Is it?
Yes. So this is the really interesting thing. If you think about what you're doing during the day, most of the activities that you're doing during the day keep you in a very specific form, right? So most of us are somewhere out here, whether you're on the computer, on your phone, playing with the kids, cooking, whatever it is that you're doing throughout your day, most of the time it's here. And if you think about what that does, it pulls your shoulder blades away from each other. And what happens is our nervous system is what's in control of how much tension is held in our muscles. And if we're giving our nervous system the information every single day that what we want to feel is this, because that's what we're doing with ourselves every day, and we're saying, okay, this is a normal position for our muscles to be held. In this, when you're here, those muscles at the back are kind of elongated a little bit. So if we're saying that this is what we want, then our nervous system kind of like keeps that as our set point after a certain amount of time, right? Yeah. And so then when we try to move out of that, and that's what we were just doing, we were taking ourselves through a different range, our nervous system's like, oh, this is different. This is unusual. We haven't done this for a little while. And so what we're doing is we're really just expanding our controllable range. Right. And when we do that, we become more resilient. And we just open up more possibilities for how we can do things. So most of us are walking around doing things out of habit. So we reach up overhead and, we have a certain way of doing that. But because we have a certain way of doing it, we might be missing out on a particular range within each joint that kind of just like drops offline. It's a little bit like Wi-Fi. It's like if you're not, it just drops out and your body's like, I don't know how to use that because it's not, I can't pick up the signal. And so this way of moving kind of just allows you to create a much clearer map of your body in your brain to say, like, I've got control over that full range now, not just this one fixed range where I tend to hang out most of the time. Does that make sense?
It does make sense. So you're kind of expanding, as you say, your range of controllable movement. And for me, controllable is really important in all that because, we all have a different range and our bodies work differently. So yes, working with what's within our control is important, and not to feel guilty that it doesn't work in a certain way either. It's going with what it does, working.
It's maintaining a sense of curiosity. And that's the thing. If we can just sit in curiosity and be like, this is interesting, then we can stay out of that sort of self-flagellation, of going, well, this makes me a crappy person because I can't do X, Y, Z. It's not about that. It's about exploring what is possible in my body, but also, doing it from a place of kindness, because if we can build up the resiliency of our joints, then we just feel better. And that's the reason to do it, not because it looks a certain way, but because we want bodies that as we get older can do all the things that we want and need them to do. And that really, at the end of the day, is the point. It's about having bodies that are very robust and resilient and can take load from various different angles rather than just the one that we're fixed in. So I hope that makes sense. I went off on a bit of a tangent.
Well, it does. And for me personally, like I've been doing Pilates, reformer Pilates for years and love it.
Yeah.
Only recently have, since lockdown, started getting into some yoga moves, but just really simple. My husband's been a yoga person for like 30 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but for me now, it's to the point where I look forward to it because I enjoy the benefit that it brings. And some of the moves I go, not quite work, but it's actually that point where you look forward to it and it's becoming part of what I do now. So I guess that brings a couple of points to mind is, should we be looking to do, hopefully, do you still see me?
I can still see you, yeah.
I think I lost you for a minute. Are you back? It must have been my Wi-Fi.
I'm here, yep. Can you hear me?
Okay. All right, must my Wi-Fi not, you're coming in and out. Anyway, I'll keep going. Do we have to do these to get the maximum benefit? How often until you feel that you are getting something out of these new movements, Erica, these little snacks? Is it something we should be doing you know, how often until
whenever. So
or there's no right answer.
There's no right or wrong. I think one of the main things is
the internet.
are we
brilliant?
Are we no good? Can you hear me? I can still hear you. You let me know if you can hear me. Oh, now you've disappeared.
Oh, hello.
Oh, there we go.
Let's go.
I'm like, I can hear you. I can see you. Are we okay now?
We're good. We're back. We can see. I can see two of us now.
Awesome. So, all right. So how often should we do it?
Yes.
So the thing for me is that sometimes you can see the benefits of this stuff like instantly, and that's really what we're doing it for in a lot of ways. So I like to use movement as a very immediate response to the way that I feel, and I find that is really powerful. But then sometimes we have to be really patient. If we're dealing with a part of our body that has actually been under tension for a very long time, then we might just kind of feel like 0.2% better, and that's okay as well. So sometimes it's just this process of showing up for ourselves. But I think it's really important to take that approach of doing it because you're being kind to yourself rather than because you're saying, I should do this. Because should does not get anyone on the mat. It's a horrible motivation. And so we really want to be motivating ourselves from this place of, I simply want to feel well in myself and start to explore what works in my body. And so when we come at it from that point of view, it becomes sort of easier and a little bit more palatable and a bit more gentle. And knowing that you can spend like a minute, 2 minutes, 5 minutes doing something takes a bit of the pressure off as well. And then when we get those little wins on the board, we're like, ooh, what would happen if I did this for half an hour? I might feel even like better. And so then it becomes a pleasurable activity. And that's really what we want. We want to feel the joy in our body, not be using it as a punishment.
I'm curious to know, of the girls in the chat at the moment, how many of you have moved some form of movement in your regular daily lives now? If you could type that in and just let us know. I'm just curious to know, because it's not a test or anything. I'm just curious. That's me. But I think too, we often, you're a busy mom and all the rest of it, and it is hard, if you don't make it a priority like anything else, or, just make it part of who you are and what you do, then, it's never going to get there either. So at some point it's a conscious decision to include it.
And it's a choice. And this is the thing, it's always a choice. And so we get to choose. And I think we have to take responsibility for that and know that if we are at the point where we want to feel well and we want to move well, then we simply have to make the choice that we're going to do it. And, sometimes when I say that, it sounds a little bit, I feel like it sounds a little bit aggressive, but it's not intended to. But literally no one else can make that choice for you. And taking responsibility for it and just saying, like, this is now my priority. That's the only way that we get it done. And there is like this dance between that kind of like, responsibility and priority, and then also, coming at it from that kind place. So you kind of have to dance with that to get the right balance for you. But the reality is that we choose. And just because we choose in one direction one day doesn't mean we can't change our choice the next day. And that's where I think a lot of us come unstuck, is we think, oh, well, I didn't do it yesterday, I may as well not do it now. Whereas it's like every time we get to choose, and that's really cool because it means that we're never locked in one place.
Yeah, and I guess too, if you do skip it a day or whatever, don't beat yourself up about that either.
Doesn't matter. I don't exercise every day.
Time that you do it, and be happy that you have included it. Absolutely. We've got some good feedback there. Thanks, girls. We've got quite a few walkers. We've got some Pilates people. Karen says she's a member of your virtual studio.
Yes. Hi, Karen.
Hi, Karen. Heke does Fernwood's clothes, so stocked up with padded mats, balls, and TheraBands. Oh, those TheraBands. Oh, God.
I love TheraBands. We use TheraBands in yoga a lot.
We do it in Pilates on Reformer, and it gets my voice going every time. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
What else here? Gardening. Gardening's great. That's great for movement. doing it well. Yeah, so that's great. So Erica is going to be joining us for another couple of sessions, girls. I really got so much out of that. Thank you. And I just feel like there is so much more to explore. If there's anything that you would like Erica to focus on for next time, maybe if there's an area of the body that, you want some help working, or I don't know, just something that you think might be helpful with your movement, then please put it in the comments. And after we end the broadcast today, we'll make sure we go in there and look at all the comments and then, introduce that potentially into what we do next time, because this is all about you girls. This is helping you to get out of this as much as you can and want. Erica, if the girls want to continue on in between your next session, because you're not on for another 5 weeks, that's how we're rolling it, girls. We've got 6 weeks. We've got 7 topics, so we're rotating through each topic. So Erica's not back on now for, let me have a look here. I've got the little
sometime
schedule.
in May, I think.
It is. It's a little while. 29th. Potentially the 29th of April. Yeah, towards the end of the month. So a little bit of time. So between now and then, if the girls want to explore a little bit more with your philosophy and what you do, where can they go to do that with you?
Yeah, so I share heaps of movement snacks on my Facebook page, little snippets that you can just kind of play with. So I'm at Erica Webb Yoga on Facebook and Instagram, actually, same name everywhere. And you can find me online as well. Well, it's all online, isn't it? I have a website, is what I mean to say, which is ericawebyoga.com.au. And I have actually got a free full-length class as well that's based on this idea of sort of moving beyond habits. So I can drop the link into that as well.
Let's do that. I won't annoy everybody by typing all that in now, because I can hear the tick, 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 tick. But we'll make sure we put that in the comments. So Perfect. This session stays in the feed, in the Sequence and Sand feed. So you can come back anytime and refresh there and see the comments. And also I will download it and put it over on our YouTube channel as well. And then I'll create a blog post with it. So there's a couple of ways that if over time you want to see the whole series and refresh, we'll put it over there on YouTube too, but it's always going to be in the Sequence and Sand feed. You just have to find it, and we'll let you know where to find Erica for sure. Thank you so much, Erica. That was awesome.
Thank you, Anita. Such a lovely pleasure.
For you. So thank you.
Oh, good.
We'll let you get back to your family and hop into some Easter eggs and whatever else you've got planned for the little
Definitely
Easter
chocolate.
break. And have a bit of a rest for you too. You've been a busy
I will. Thank you.
Thanks very much. Thanks so much, girls, for tuning in. Bye.